Hey guys, it's Dr. Ryan, and today we're going to talk with one of my patients, Will. Will's been a patient of the clinic for a little more than a year now, and he's going to talk about his experience before and after joining and working with me. So, Will, why don't you go ahead and start a little bit about telling a little bit about yourself, where you live, some of your hobbies, what you do, your family life.
I live in Georgia. I work in manufacturing. Hobbies, I've got a couple kids, so it's spending time with the family. Really, I like music and I like cooking and food. Those are probably kind of the big focuses, which is part of what I think got me here.
Very cool. Very cool. So, well, what I'm going to do is ask you a couple of questions that kind of reflect your experience prior to joining the clinic. So, I want you to go back and remember how it was before you started up with Summa Ups. What were some of the problems that you were trying to solve specifically?
I think a lot of the typical things that people see, especially as we get older, low energy, motivation, definitely challenges in my mood. I think, I'd be honest if I was describing myself as fairly surly. And really, with my family, kids are getting older and I want to make sure that I'm a present father and really there for them, physically and mentally, but, just have a better focus and, just really living in the moment as opposed to in the past or in the future. Health wise, I knew that I was out of shape. I had worked out intermittently, for most of my life, but consistency was always a challenge. And then again, I mentioned I really like food. So, diet was, I always thought about it, but I was never great at being consistent with that. So all those things, I knew that I couldn't continue the way that I was. I had to make a change. And of course, second best time to plant a tree is today. So, it's just, I had to pull the trigger.
Gotcha. And so you referred to issues with energy, with motivation. You mentioned it was really hard for you to stay in the present. Perhaps you're thinking about the past a lot and how maybe things were a little bit better back then. You alluded to the fact that perhaps it was difficult to garner changes in your physique or get leaner in a more efficient period of time. So how did those problems specifically affect your career and business and your family? What did you notice in particular?
A lot of it had to do with my own confidence, especially in my career. I manage people, and so it's something that I'm always trying to get better at. I would second guess decisions, and I noticed that getting worse and worse to where I wasn't as a good of a leader as I really needed to be. And then, of course, there's the energy aspect of it that when you're at work, especially, it's a demanding role, and I knew that I needed to be on, and I wasn't there. And look for a million different things to do, and I could never solve the problem.
Yeah, and when people look to leadership, they look for someone who is confident in their decision-making ability to someone who's dynamic, able to kind of pull energy and generate it from the group. And I can see how that could present quite a few problems. What about your
Right.
family? You mentioned you have, how many children do you have again?
I have two.
Two children. Okay.
Yeah, and same type of thing. It's always the cliche. You blink and then they're older, and the same type of thing. Not being present was really important. Because I realized that they're getting older quickly, and these moments that I have with them, are always going to be fleeting. And I just wasn't taking advantage of that. And again, I didn't want to look down the road 10 years from now and say, what, I wasted all that time, because it's one of those things that we'll never get back.
Yeah, it's so important to really develop a close relationship with your children during those early years, because many times it's going to be a lot harder as they get into adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, it's good that you recognize it. Very good, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so for a lot of patients, there is an inciting event. It sounds like there were several things that were building up, but was there like one particular event that made you think, okay, enough is enough. I need to go ahead and make a decision and do something about these issues?
Again, I think it was a long time coming, and I knew that, I needed to just start taking action. I started a new job about this time last year. So again, more demands on me. So I knew that I was going to need to really improve, just out of necessity. Even if I wasn't feeling the way that was, it's, always seeking improvement. But it just got to that point where it was kind of a now or never scenario. And it needed to happen.
Okay, so I see. So perhaps some new career opportunities, and you're like, I need to be on my A game,
Mm-hmm.
and that was kind of what pushed you towards this. Okay, good. How exactly did you find out about Summa Up? Was it through an ad or a referral? What was it?
It was, I think I saw something on an ad, maybe on Instagram, and then, I saw a lot on Reddit actually, and I saw some posts that you had on there. You were very open with the information, very, very detailed, and then I had seen some other people post and very complimentary of what you had done, and so it was pretty interesting to see. And so when I saw the ads, I saw a lot of positive reviews, and one of the things that I was a little skeptical at first was that I didn't see the negative reviews, and it's a public world, so so those always exist, and so it's like, well, maybe this is all cultivated. But then again, dug in a little bit more, and really the stuff on Reddit stood out just because you were very open with your information. You were offering that for free, and it was good stuff. It wasn't, hey, come see me and I'll help you. It was, here's what I think based on what I'm seeing. And so those things for me was said, this is probably the place that I need to go talk to.
Yeah. And just to address that, I just feel like it was just I think Reddit is a pretty interesting source of information.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Yeah, there's lots of great things out there, some of which is really, positive, amazing information. Sometimes it may not be the most accurate, but
right.
In my personal opinion, of course, right? I just felt that I would just put some information out there, and if some people found it to be helpful, great. If some people didn't, it is what it is, but obviously found some benefit to it. And then in terms of the positive reviews and negative reviews, and this as well as any business person online, we really try to focus on giving the best service possible, because it is just so easy. It's so hard for people to leave positive reviews because it takes extra time, and they got to go ahead and think about, craft an answer. But man, if you upset somebody, they are super quick at putting something up there. Yeah. So that was just something that we really tried to focus on from the start, just focusing on more patient service, client service, right? Ensuring that the individuals in the clinic had a very positive, uplifting experience. So very good. So despite all of that, despite you doing your research, were there any obstacles in particular you needed to overcome before joining? Like some of my patients, they'll get the information, they'll recognize they have a problem, but they'll still kind of persevere and perseverate over concerns and be like, hey, you know what? I'm not really sure because of X, Y, and Z. Did you have any obstacles like that?
No, I think the big obstacle was just that, there's still the ego in me that was like, hey, I can take care of this myself. I don't need any help. I have a tendency to be impulsive. And this was one of those times where I said, you know what, I'm just going to do it and let's see what happens. The worst is I spend some money and maybe I learn something. But fortunately, I had gotten to the point, to where I had to do something. And again, did enough research and reading that, once I spoke with you guys, I said, all right, I'm going to do it.
Very good. Okay, so why don't we switch gears and talk about your experience after joining the clinic. So after joining the clinic, what are some of the changes you noticed in your body and overall health?
Those have been substantial. And I think it was August when I first got started with you, maybe a little bit before. And even in that amount of time, I have much higher energy levels. I feel comfortable in my own skin for probably the first time in all of my life. I'm happy to be here. And then from a mood standpoint, it's, I don't have the surly disposition all the time, change my personality, but it's just feel like I'm a better human. It's been awesome.
Well, that's wonderful. So you saw an improvement in your energy and your mood, but I do want to take a moment and just demonstrate some of the changes I saw that were a little more objective. When you look at your weight, it was just ridiculous, man. Like back in November, when you started with the Lean for Life program, around that time, you were at 213 and you've lost a significant amount of weight. You're down to 192, right? Yeah. Which is just about 20 pounds, which is really awesome. And then when you look at your lipid panel, this was your cholesterol when you started with the clinic. Your total cholesterol is 208, your triglycerides are 85, your LDL is 118, apolipoprotein was 100. And it's just remarkable the change you made. That's like almost a 40-point drop in your total cholesterol, and your LDL went from 118 to 98, so it's well within an appropriate range. So this is phenomenal, man. I'm really, really happy to see the change there. It's really crazy to see that you could accomplish all of this without having to resort to any medications. It was primarily just your diet and exercise regimen and supplements.
Yeah, that's what's been really neat. After the that last panel I saw my cholesterol, I was pretty excited about that because that was one of my concerns before, obviously. And that's always a common topic. And I was telling somebody that recently, I think last week, I had mentioned that I'd gone from over 200 to in the 160s. And so, well, what was it? Statins? Are you on Lipitor? And it's like, actually, no, it's, it was diet. And so that was the other thing, I think, going into, this program with you guys. Lean for Life was mentioned, but that part, to me, the cost and the time and effort alone has been worth it. That's one thing that I don't think people understand, how valuable that one part of it is, because not only is the exercise program, but the diet, but it's the accountability that comes with it. Just knowing that there's somebody that's keeping an eye on you, obviously that always makes people stick to something a little bit easier. But the other thing, and I think I mentioned this to you before, is it's positive accountability. Even the first time my blood work came back, it wasn't where I wanted it to be, but you were still saying, "Hey, look, you're moving in the right direction. This is great. Keep going." And that part's been really cool.
I worked as a conventional physician for many years. I did internal medicine and then anesthesiology. I think conventional medicine has a lot to offer, a lot of benefits, but I feel there's a lot of emphasis just on the medications and not enough on diet and exercise. And that's where I kind of draw upon my experience as a personal trainer and a physique competitor, and the changes I've seen personally, along with some of my clients when I used to train them in the gym, right?
Yeah.
And think, hey, what if I combine both of this together? And it's been really remarkable. And my personal way of treating patients is to combine it all together. It's worked really well, but obviously, and I think it's a great way to go. It may not be the best for every individual out there, but when you combine all of that, when you combine diet, training, medications, supplements, you just get just a phenomenal 1 + 1 + 1 = like 8 sort of situation where everything's synergetic, right? Synergistic, yeah.
It really did, because that's when I started to see some changes. But the other part of it too is that it changed my relationship with food, because, like I mentioned before, cooking is one of my big hobbies, and so I absolutely love food. And so it changed that from being the event to just kind of secondary. I was truly using food for nutrition, and again, I get used to having that program to where it makes me appreciate other food even more now, because it's like, I wasn't using it as the escape, a couple of times a day. It's, I can really appreciate it for what it is, but not have to rely solely on that as, a place of joy.
Yeah, I think one of the transition points I see with patients, they start to see food as fuel more than as like a pleasure. Although food is, eating food is one of the great pleasures of life, I guess. But when you kind of try to subtract that from that aspect and view it more as fuel for your engine, right? Premium fuel for your engine, assuming your body's your engine, you tend to look at it a little differently. And then, of course, you do have a cheat meal where you can engage in some of those foods you do like. So that's pretty helpful. Okay, good. So we talked a little bit about some of the changes you saw in your body and health. What about some of the changes you saw in your career, your business, as well as your family?
Confidence has always been a challenge and something in my mind. And so that I've seen a noticeable improvement. Again, I'm, comfortable in my own skin, so it's not a distraction. The other part of it, just going through the program, especially the Lean for Life, you do have to put in work. And, I think everybody gets used to instant gratification, and you want the magic pill that's going to solve all your problems. And there isn't anything like that exists. And so it's been a long time. I haven't played sports since high school, and it's been a long time since I've had to put in that work and see and be patient with the results. And even had a lot of positive results in a short amount of time. But again, you start eating chicken and berries for a couple of days, and you want it to all be better. But it's given me that understanding. I think reminded me of that understanding of, you got to put in the work to see the results. And so there's been other things that I've done. One of the things as I reflected back on my past year and said, okay, I need to be a better communicator in order to continue to be a better leader. And so I signed up for a communications class, a leadership communication. Just again, it's reminded me that I have to continue to put in effort. I have to learn new things. I have to continue to grow. So that's really made a big difference. And then, on the family side, it's the same type of thing. I'm more available and more present. I have a higher energy level, happy to be there. I'm finding joy in those little moments that, I may have been washed over it before. So hanging out with the kids, it's always been fun, but I'm more available and more present, which has made a huge difference.
Have you noticed like some changes in terms of your kids' reactions to you? Is it more like, hey, it's dad's not angry as much, or he's really really nice and happy all the time?
Yeah, I haven't gotten that from them. I mean, I like to think that I wasn't really that type of dad, but no, I mean, I know that I think we all have a good time hanging out. I mean, my wife's obviously noticed the difference between not only my mood, but obviously appearance and everything else. She's always the one that picks up on it more.
Speaking of which, has any of your colleagues commented on that too? Have they? I'm sure they've obviously noticed a change in terms of your personality and your motivation levels, right, and your energy levels, right, and your tendency, your proclivity to want to learn more and improve yourself, right? But certainly they've noticed some change in your physique too. Yes.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of the comments that I get is just the changes in my physique. Well, a lot of compliments, as much as people are willing to offer in a modern workplace. But yeah, there has been a lot of that, and that's obviously one of the cool things is clothes fit better, and have clothes from a while ago that I never got rid of that actually fit me again, and things like that. It's always fun.
Okay, very good. So outside of the changes you saw in your physique and your health and the changes you incurred and you noticed in terms of your relationships with your family and your colleagues at work or just your career in general, were there any other benefits that you've noticed have come from working with us?
Yeah, the big one, like I mentioned before, is really that education piece of it. It's I never really liked going to doctors because, you go to talk to them. And again, I would get a lot of here's a prescription, take this, I'll see you in a year. And I didn't want to solve problems that way because it wasn't a holistic solution, and it was a Band-Aid on top of the underlying challenges. And so that modification and understanding a healthy lifestyle is really that fundamental change and the real benefit. And I think that comes from the way that you guys approach it, the Lean for Life program, and then that positive accountability.
We're a big fan in affirmations and just ensuring that we try to help you get from point A to point B in a positive manner. It's so easy to become negative along the route, and I've noticed I can better motivate individuals if I focus on their successes and then try to help them learn from their failures rather than just consistently go back and back. Rather being like, I would rather have them look at a mistake or a failure and be like, okay, well, what can we learn from it? And let's take the gem that we can extract from that situation, apply it, and then move on, right? And that just seems to, in my personal experience, seems to work a lot when I work with clients or patients. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, good. So to end things here, what would you tell someone who's watching this now and is uncertain about joining the clinic?
Yeah, I'd recommend anybody that's thought about it or gotten this far, this needs to do it. It's an investment, but the return is substantial. I think that anybody that has the ability, and again, obviously, we've gotten to this point for a lot of reasons. I think that a lot of what anybody's looking for can be solved, joining you guys and going through this program.
I do want to emphasize that. I like that term, return on investment. I think a lot of us, we don't hesitate to invest in certain vehicles, our house, or a good financial investment in business, but it's important to do the same for your health, right? And at the end of the day, you always are looking for a good return on your investment. So when you're looking through clinics and evaluating providers, that's a key thing to ascertain. And I'm glad that you feel that way about myself in the clinic. So
yeah, and like I said, it's the customer service and then the value you guys offer, just by itself is that value's there. But then on top of that, when you add in the Lean for Life and everything else that you guys do that I think is very, very unique, that is by far always going to make it worth it.
Great. All right. Well, William, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about your experiences today. And I want to thank you for being a patient of the clinic.
No, thank you. I told you before, I really appreciate everything that you guys do and being a part of it. So it's been fun and continue to look forward to the future.